Imagine for a moment just one single skill. A skill that could, well, transform the ability to execute communicate more effectively, or even spark real movement in your life. What if getting good at joy, finally getting past that we have to tackle imposter syndrome, the feeling of being a fraud, ways to deal with that, and finally this critical idea, focusing on what you can do, how that keeps you energized, how it helps you make an impact, even if the big results the likes aren't showing up right now. It's about finding that joy.
That's a powerful stage. Okay, so storytelling. The sources jump right in, calling it the single most powerful skill, period. Regardless of industry or role, that's a big claim. Why? In a world obsessed with data, facts, analytics, why is telling a story suddenly the number one thing?
It is a big claim, but the sources really build a strong case. At its core, storytelling is about connection, real human connection. It's about engaging people emotionally, making them lean in, really hang on to your words as a result. And that's the engine for building movement, whether it's inside a company or building a community. It's about making people feel something. And to get why it's so crucial now, you have to think about information overload. We're drowning in it, right? Think back, historically, information was scarce. Owning a set of encyclopedias, that was huge. It gave you access, status, knowledge was locked away.
Right, you had to seek it out. It wasn't just there.
Exactly. But today, everyone, literally everyone, has access to almost infinite information on their phone. Instantly. You want to know something? Boom, search engine, barrier's gone. So success isn't about having the information anymore and everyone has it. It's about how you package it, how you frame it, how you make it land emotionally. Creating that emotional connection, that's what makes it
It's the feeling, not just the facts.
precisely. You can throw data at people all day long, but without a story, without that emotional hook that just washes over them, your unique story, your emotional resonance, that's the edge.
That makes sense. It's about creating an experience. And this individual we're looking at, they seem to really embody this. How do they actually do it? Any specific examples of how their reaction was?
Oh, absolutely. You just feel it. When someone genuinely loves what they're doing, that passion, it just radiates. You pick it up whether you're watching a video, listening, or reading. It's infectious. And this person, they take it so seriously. They actually teach their own kids storytelling skills. They see it as fundamental, not just for business, but for life.
Wow, teaching your own kids. That says a lot.
It does. And look at their journey into that collective community of entrepreneurs, right? That started because of their kids. When they first got into that scene, they noticed something interesting. A lot of creators had knowledge, the facts about the cause, but they weren't, as they put it, telling good stories.
So there was an opening.
Exactly. Not by having some secret info, but by presenting it, by bringing their own genuine excitement, their own narrative into it. And it led to some wild stuff, like that shark's gym. Should I open it or should I keep it? Super simple. Creates instant curiosity. But what made it explode was this catchy little jingle they made, hummed it into their phone, and that jingle became iconic. They started parodying it, it became a meme. It's a perfect example of what they call adorning it with other flavors. Taking something basic and adding personality, adding fun, adding you. That's what makes it stick. It wasn't just about the card, it was a whole playful experience.
Adorning it with other flavors. I really like that phrase. It speaks to making things your own. And it's interesting, given how much joy seems central now, that this whole thing started from a pretty rough place, didn't it? Not with joy, but with a major setback.
You got it. The sources paint a picture of someone who, seemingly made it, graduated, magna cum laude, landed the dream job in architecture, everything lining up. Then 2008, financial crisis.
saw them as an expert. But inside, they felt like a total fraud. They described it as feeling so weird like they hadn't earned it.
I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling. Absolutely. And get this, their first sale, a $19.99 PDF. When that first sale notification came through, their immediate thought wasn't excitement, it was fear. They literally thought the FBI is going to show up. Like they were convinced they'd done something wrong just by selling something helpful.
Holy guy, that's intense. Shows a real scarcity mindset.
Totally. Deeply ingrained. And even later, when they were making serious money, like $35,000, $40,000 a month, they were still looking for architecture jobs.
No way. Even with that kind of income.
Yep. It shows how powerful that bold identity, that imposter feeling can be. Even when the external reality, the money, clearly showed they were successful in the path, their mind was still financially free.
That sounds like a real internal battle. But being pulled in two different directions, did they have a way of visualizing that struggle? And how did they finally break free?
They did. They used this great analogy, climbing two ladders at the same time. One ladder was architecture familiar, maybe felt safer in some ways, but ultimately limiting the path they thought they should go. The other ladder, online business, terrifying, uncertain, totally new, but it offered, as they put it, endless heights, limitless potential, freedom.
Climbing two ladders at once sounds precarious.
Right. As they said, how can you climb two ladders safely? That's right. But that's exactly what it was. The big shift, the resolution came when they finally made the scary decision to let go of the familiar ladder, architecture. They really did. But they realized the new ladder, while scary, was the one that offered real growth, the freedom motivation. They had to trust the process, trust that others had climbed those rungs before. Sometimes you have to let go of the safe option to find the true freedom.
That's a powerful visual. Okay, so for listeners who are right there, wrestling with that same self-doubt and what practical advice does this person offer? What tools can people actually use?
Well, first, they stress how incredibly common it is. Even super successful people feel it. So you're not alone. Their personal trick, they actively recall past successes, like tangible proof. If they're nervous before speaking, they remind themselves, okay, I've done this, I've connected with audiences before, I delivered value. They use past wins as evidence against the negative self-talk. Build your own mental proof.
I like that concrete evidence.
Exactly. And for starting out, we have this brilliant little strategy, the 111 strategy. Yep, find one person, one specific problem, and get one result for them. It just cuts through all the overwhelm, right? Instead of trying to help everyone with everything, just focus. One person, one problem, one result. It helps you really understand your audience, and critically, it gives you undeniable proof that you can help. You build confidence from that tiny, tangible goal. You can help one, you can help more. Gets you out of your head and into action.
What else?
Another great tool, something they learned from someone else. Ask yourself, if this were easy, what would it look like?
Okay, if this were easy, how does that help?
It cuts the complexity. Like, say you want to write a book. You might get bogged down thinking about agents, marketing, launches, all that stuff. But if writing a book were easy, it would just look like opening a document and writing the first sentence. Then the next. It strips away all the future worries and just focuses on the immediate doings.
That simplifies the very next action.
Exactly. And they also really emphasize mentorship and coaching, learning from people who've been there, avoiding their mistakes. That can shave years off your learning curve. Get guidance.
We got started, found some success, dealt with imposter syndrome. Another challenge hit. The loss of joy. The honeymoon period ended for the main business.
Yeah, that's a really interesting part of the story. After about 3 or 4 years, those initial butterflies, that excitement faded. The hopeful, what if this works, started turning into anxious thoughts like, uh-oh, what if this doesn't work long term? What if I don't get this? What if it fails? It led to stagnation, feeling stuck. Even after success. And they noticed something interesting about optimization. You know, the standard advice. Automate everything. Streamline. Take yourself out of the day-to-day. But they found that if you automate too much, if you remove yourself from the parts you actually enjoy, the creative bits, the interaction, the whole thing can start to feel, well, soulless.
So efficiency isn't always the answer.
Not if it kills the joy, apparently. If it just becomes a machine you maintain instead of something you're passionate about. That's a problem. You need to be careful not to automate certain parts of your life.
How did that soulless feeling show up So how did they escape that trap? How did they get this spark?
The answer was surprisingly simple, almost profound: finding the fun again. They talk about it now like, as a 42-year-old man finding immense joy playing with cardboard with cartoons on it, referring to Pokemon stuff. It's this embrace of playfulness of what genuinely excites them without judgment.
Back to the fun.
Back to the fun. They firmly believe your energy, your enjoyment directly impacts your audience. Positive, joyful energy that launches things, sustains things. But that energy of dread, complication, that drags everything down, kills creativity, repels people, and they also learn to delegate smartly. Outsource the stuff they didn't enjoy. Technical backend stuff, publishing posts, freeing up their energy for what they love, podcasting itself, writing newsletters, connected. Find people who actually like doing stuff.
That makes so much sense. Focus your energy on that. Which leads perfectly into this framework we developed, the 20% itch rule, to keep that joy and curiosity alive. What is that?
Yeah, this came about because they realized the standard advice, niche down, do one thing really well, just didn't fit them. They had this restless energy, this creative entrepreneur itch, always wanting to try new things.
I know that.
Right. So inspired by things like Google's famous 20% time, where engineers can spend a day a week on passion projects, they created their own version, a formal way to manage their itch.
Okay, so how does it work? The mechanics of the 20% itch rule.
It's pretty straightforward. 80% of their time goes to the core stuff. The main business, the established responsibilities, that's the foundation. Keeps the lights on, pays the bill, provides stability. Then 20% of their time is reserved specifically for experiment, for fun stuff, for exploring totally new ideas. It's dedicated playtime, essentially. Absolutely key. And the beauty is the safety net. If a 20% project falls, if it fails, it's okay. Because the 80% is just chugging along, generating income. It lowers the stakes for experimentation. And even those failures, like you mentioned, starting software companies that didn't work out, they weren't really failures, they were lessons. They provided proof for future things, helped build skills, expanded their network. Every experiment feeds back into the whole system, successful or not. It fuels growth without the existence.
That sounds incredibly smart. A way to innovate without betting the farm. Can you give us some examples? How did this 20% rule lead to actual breakthroughs?
Oh, definitely. The biggest one is that Pokemon channel we talked about. That started entirely as a 20% itch project. Their main business felt a bit stale, kids got into Pokemon, and they thought, let's explore this. And crucially, they didn't just jump in making videos. They spent time in the community first, moderating for others, joining forums, going to events, really understanding the landscape, the language, the culture.
So research was 20%.
Exactly. Deep immersion. And look at the results. 100,000 subs in under a year, 500,000 in 3 years, then over 1 million just a year after. It led to huge live events, thousands of people showing up, opening Pokemon packs, the pro football field, wow stuff. And they chalk it up to embracing the weird, finding fun, and connecting authentically. It wasn't a calculated business plan initially. It was joy.
That's incredible growth from a side project. Any others?
Yeah, another great one was a daily Q&A audio show. It came from just answering audience questions they already had. Scaling it to daily seemed impossible, but they used that just-in-time learning. They reached out to someone already doing a successful daily show, learned about batching content, recording a week's worth in one day, using an assistant. That efficiency made it possible. And that little daily show generated $2.5 million in sponsorships and leads over time. Huge ROI on a 20% experiment. Sure, a physical product that tripod. They had zero experience with product design or manufacturing. None. They had a problem, an itch to scratch with the existing tripod. So in their 20% time, they started doing hardcore mock-ups first, then getting feedback from other creators, iterating using 3D printing. They launched it on Kickstarter, aiming for $100, hit it in 11 hours. And now, it's mostly automated via Amazon FBA. Takes them maybe 2 hours of work a year, thanks to a good team and logistics partners, but generates significant annual sales. All from a 20% itch that seemed totally outside their wheelhouse. It just shows the power of protective, playful experimentation.
Okay, this focus on internal driver's joy, experimentation leads to another big theme, navigating external validation. In a world obsessed with likes, views, followers, how do they suggest we deal with that? It's so easy to get caught.
Yeah, they call it very dangerous to base your self-worth on this external metric. So many creators get crushed when they pour their heart into something. It's for consistent production. Something you can control, like commit. I'm going to publish one video every day for the next 60 days. If you do that, you win. Every day you upload, that's a win, regardless of the view count. Focusing on the reps, on the process, builds confidence, you get better automatically, faster, better storytelling, better production, and you get that internal win every single day, which fuels you instead of waiting for unpredictable external validation. Focus on inputs, the outputs take care of themselves eventually.
And that Pokemon Shorts channel is a perfect example of that, right?
Textbook case. It started as exactly that. A 60-day count the uploads experiment for influencers. For 35 days straight, videos got maybe a few hundred views. They admit their older self, the one hooked on metric, would have quit around day 14 because of disappointment.
Yeah, most people would have given up.
Right. But because the goal was just publish daily for 60 days, they kept going. And on day 36, boom, one video gets 750,000 views. The consistency finally pays off. The algorithm noticed. Now those videos get millions of views routinely, and they're so good at it, it takes 10 minutes to make one. It's proof. Focus on controllable effort. Mastery follows, results follow.
That's so powerful. Okay, beyond metrics, there was another shift you mentioned. The relationship between money and joy. They learned some hard lessons about chasing money.
Oh yeah, a particularly painful one involved a $20,000 investment in a software plugin idea that they never even launched.
What went wrong there?
Several things. One, they admit they started it purely chasing money, seeing others succeed with software. Two, they kept it secret, afraid someone would steal the idea, which meant no early feedback. And three, critically, they didn't really understand what potential users actually needed. Just endless back and forth with developers, burning cash. The big realization, looking back at that and other projects, anytime they pursued something just for the money, it always failed. That was the pattern.
Always failed.
Always failed for them. So the questions had to change before starting. Not, can this make money? But who am I genuinely serving here? What value am I bringing? They talk about meeting miserable multimillionaires, people who got rich but lost all their joy along the way. Now in their 40s, the priority is different. Fill life with joy. A better question now, they suggest, is who can I help right now? Who could pay me well for it and be genuinely thankful because it solves a real problem for them? It reframes it around service and appreciation, not just extraction. Chase value and joy first.
That's a huge mindset shift from transaction to service and appreciation. So when those external metrics were low, or the money wasn't there yet, where do they find the validation to keep pushing forward, that internal proof?
They're very clear. Don't look for it in likes or comments. That's dangerous. You have to cultivate an internal belief. If you truly believe what you're doing is helpful as a service, you have to trust that it's landing even if you don't see the evidence. It requires faith in your purpose. And then they shared this incredibly moving story about
Ah, yes, you say it really now.
Exactly. After about a year and a half of their main podcast, they felt like they were flying a machine. It wasn't going super fast compared to today. They were seriously considering stopping, questioning if the massive effort was worth it. Then this email arrives from a guy they'd never heard of. He found the show early on, right after a terrible skiing accident. Bedridden. He even sent x-rays showing the pins in his ankles. He felt crushed that he was failing his family. But he listened every day, found encouragement, hope, and he was particularly inspired by an episode where they talked about going for the almost impossible. So this guy with two broken legs sets this crazy goal: run the Warsaw Marathon 1 year later.
No way. From bedridden.
From bedridden, and he did it. A year later, he ran the marathon. The email included a picture of him crossing the finish line holding a sign. Translated, he thanked his family and the podcaster by name. Right. This one unexpected story from someone completely unknown to them provided such profound, undeniable feelings of impact. It completely reframed the value of the podcast. It wasn't about download numbers anymore. It motivated them to keep going no matter what. It was the ultimate internal validation, proving their work mattered deeply. Maybe not in ways the analytics would ever capture. Trust the unseen impact.
What an incredible story. That's incredible. Okay, we can't wrap up without touching on information overload. It's such a modern problem. Their new book tackles this with lean learning, right?
Right. The book is aimed squarely at navigating this fire hose of information we all face, especially younger people growing up. But they have this interesting idea that our brains are kind of mismatched, evolved for scarcity, grab all the berries, but now faced with infinite information. So hoard it, subscribe to everything, download everything, bookmark everything.
Guilty.
We all are, but it leads to paralysis, not wisdom. We get overwhelmed.
So what's the lean learning philosophy?
That's listening to 50 podcasts hoping for one golden nugget someday. Reading entire books on topics you might need later. Getting certifications you never use. Collecting information just in case. That's what leads to paralysis. Learn just enough to do the next thing.
That resonates so much. That feeling of collecting knowledge you never used.
They told a great little story about someone at a conference who literally left after the lunch.
Left the conference early.
Yeah, because they said, I got the exact thing I needed, I have to go apply it now. They didn't stick around for more information, they went straight into action. That immediate application creates momentum. But the best illustration, I think, is the preschool sunshade example from their own kids class.
Okay, preschool sunshade.
Yeah, so the class had an ant problem, had to eat lunch outside, but it was hot and sunny San Diego, uncomfortable for the kids. The teacher didn't just fix it, she guided the 5-year-olds to brainstorm. They identified the problem, too hot, and they came up with a solution. Build a sunshade, some blankets, and 3 supplies. Parents brought supplies, the kids built it together. Hands-on, problem-solving, learning applied instantly to fix a real issue they were experiencing right then. That's lean learning in action. Learn by doing, solve
That's a fantastic example. Okay, what a deep dive this has been. We've covered so much ground. The absolute power of storytelling for connection. That liberating 20% creative. The strength you find focusing on what you can control, not just chasing metrics.
Yeah, and that crucial shift away from external validation towards internal joy and purpose, plus how lean learning helps solve problems and actually take action instead of just information. It's a really practical, empowering experience.
It really is. So as you, our listeners, reflect on all this, here's a thought for you. What 20% could you maybe scratch this week or this month? What little experiment just for fun could you dedicate a bit of time to? Knowing that even if it doesn't become the next big thing, the joy, the learning, the work itself, absolutely. And maybe
When that voice of self-doubt starts whispering, remember that story from home. Remember, recall, what unseen impact might your consistent efforts, the work you do with joy and purpose, be having right now on someone you don't even know exists? How could trusting in